Este episodio es presentado por Opill, la primera píldora anticonceptiva diaria de venta libre disponible en los Estados Unidos. Aprobada por la FDA de potencia completa y libre de estrógeno. Además, no necesitas receta médica. Los días en los que necesitabas prescripción médica para la píldora anticonceptiva han terminado. Opill está disponible en línea y en la mayoría de las tiendas. Toma el control de tu salud reproductiva con Opill. Usa el código BIRTHCONTROL y recibe 25% de descuento en tu primer mes de Opill en opill.com.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA and college basketball, NHL to UFC and MMA. Head to BetOnline today and get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here.
This is the FunBelt podcast, part of the Believe Network.
Hosts Dusty Thibodeau of Warhawk Report, Jeremy Harper of Howlraiser, and Shane Metlin of the Daily News Record.
I think it's potentially a very good week for the Sunbelt.
But I'm just kind of going off on a random rant. It's just frustrating. It's the tale of a 5-4 team and a 3-6 team meeting on the plains of Auburn this upcoming weekend. Former Auburn great, first-round draft pick Jason Campbell for the Auburn Tigers joins me to break down this game. Jason, before the season, if I would have told you that it was a 5-4 and 3-6 team, would you have guessed that it was ULM with the 5-4, Auburn on the 3-6 side?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have guessed that Auburn would have been 3-6. Even the ULM, I wouldn't have thought would have been 3-6, in the conference because, they're a pretty good team for their conference. But for Auburn, nobody could have told me this. I had us pick to compete to actually make some noise in the SEC this year to be the most improved team in the SEC this season. And we have improved in a lot of areas, but on the scoreboard, we just haven't been able to finish games.
With Hugh Freeze really coming into this program, what has he meant? I mean, knowing that he has great Sunbelt roots, being at Arkansas State, at the G5 there at Liberty for all those years, what was it that was really the thing that they saw in him that they wanted to bring him to Auburn to really lead this program?
I think a lot of it is connections, right? You look at our AD, John Cohen, being from, he's at Mississippi State, played baseball for Mississippi State as well, but also, I think him and Coach Freeze knew each other. And just from a standpoint of Coach Freeze had already been at Ole Miss, had some really good success when he was at Ole Miss. And I think Auburn was trying to find someone after the Harsin era. They're trying to find someone that was relatable to the SEC, someone that actually been through the SEC and know what it's going to take to recruit at this level. Because, every household you walk in, same household, LSU, Georgia, Tennessee, Bama walks into, right? So you got to have someone that knows how to go in there and drive the players and get players to Auburn. And that's how you start by winning football games. And I think that was a big part of the reason why they went and got him.
You mentioned Harsin, obviously Freeze. Does that mean Arkansas State fans need to be a little worried there that they're going after Butch Jones next?
Oh, man, I tell you what, it's a whirlwind, right? The coaching carousel, along with transfer portal, it's all just a business at the end of the day. But like I said, Coach Freeze come here and we knew it was going to be a 2 to 3 year rebuilding process. And, I think I say this, like we have a lot of freshmen that's playing on defense that are really, really good. And I think in another year or two, those guys are going to be really special on that side of the ball. Offensively, we have some really good weapons. Our young guys are really good at the receiver position. They're all mostly true freshmen except for Lambert Smith and Robert Lewis. But for the most part, they're all young pups. So there's young talent to be seen. And like I said, these guys going through the adversity they're facing this year, come this time next season, hopefully they'll know how to win those games because of the year experience they had this year. But, we'll see.
You're now color analyst for the Auburn Radio Network, but back in the day when you strapped on the pads, you got to go up against the Warhawks 3 times. And I'm proud to say that in those 3 games, you had an interception in 2 of the 3 games there, Jason. But when the small G5 schools going up against the Auburns, the Alabamas, and everyone else, it's, hey, I want to show them what they missed. Why didn't they recruit me a little bit more?
Mm-hmm.
When you're strapped on those pads for these games, what are you really looking at in these types of games?
I'll tell you what, right? Like, the G5, if you think about it overall, a lot of these guys now are transferring from the Auburns, the Bamas, the LSUs, and all those schools and going where they can get some playing time, right? Because sometimes you may come to these bigger schools and they're 2-3 deep. And so they're like, man, I want to go somewhere where I can get some film and I can actually play a little more. And that's why you see guys like, you can't excuse ULM anymore. You can't excuse, New Mexico State last year. They beat us, around the same time of the season and everything. So you have to go in these ball games now, like ready to play, because you can be beat by anybody now because of the transfer portal and everything. So I think for Auburn, they know that ULM is a well-coached team. They know that they can run the football really well. And they know that this is, to them, it's kind of like, they have this game circle. It's like, hey, man, we get to play in front of 88,000 people, in November in the SEC stadium. Like, that drives those kids to want to put their best performance. And I think for them, you're going to see them come in here and they're going to play Auburn extremely hard. And, Auburn's not going to just walk out there on the field and just say, hey, this is a victory, because last year we took a butt whipping in New Mexico State. And a lot of those guys that was on that team ended up where? At Vanderbilt. The offensive coordinator, the quarterback, the tight end, a couple of defensive players, like they all ended up at Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt's having a really good season this year up there. So this is a game, to me, is intriguing. Auburn's coming off a bye week. Like I said, we split the last 2 games and, that's a bad loss to Vanderbilt. The reason I say it, because you go on the road, you beat a good Kentucky team who's kind of back and forth, kind of like us. They're up and they're down. But then you go up there and you beat them. And then all of a sudden you come back home against Vanderbilt and you want to try to get some games strong in a row of winning. And then you come out flat offensively. Defensively play good, but offense, we just never could just get it going. And you end up taking a L at home and then leaving that game scratching their heads again.
It seems like on the offensive side, the real struggle for Auburn has been at the quarterback position. But despite that, they're a top 50 offense in the NCAA, ranked 46, averaging about 420 yards a game. Is it quarterback play, or is that just kind of the focal point, as always, that the quarterback's going to get the blame or the glory?
Well, quarterback's going to always get too much of the blame, right? But at the end of the day, like Thorne, I think he's been fighting through an injury, shoulder injury. He's missed some really important throws. They kind of could be some game-changing throws. I think what got us in trouble early in the season was the turnovers. That's I always tell the guy, you got the ball in your hands, you can control where it goes. And early in the season, we just became a turnover machine. I think the first 3-4 games had 15 turnovers. So you start the season off, negative 15. That's not a good way to start. And I think from that point on, we've been trying to reel it in a little bit. But I just think overall, offensively, like we just haven't been able to take that next step. And what I mean by that is hitting the big plays down the field. We struggle getting big plays down the field. We're pretty good from the intermediate range and then short game, but just having those explosive plays, I think, is what we've been missing so much this year on offense and everything.
Jason Campbell, color analyst for the Auburn Network and part of the Believe Network with the Believe in Auburn show there. Jason, what do you feel it takes for ULM to be able to come into Jordan-Hare this upcoming weekend and walk away with a win?
Well, kids playing out of their mind, right? Like, not being afraid of, when you see the lights and when you see the, the fans and everything, not letting, the size of the crowd or the stadium dictate the victory. Like I always tell all our guys, when I was coaching Little League ball and everything, they play against a bigger team, their eyes go like, oh, I was like, guys, they put their pants on the same way you do, the helmet on the same way, their cleats on the same way, their socks, everything. I say the difference between fighting to win and lose is inside your heart. I like how hard you play. I like size doesn't matter. I just like, if you got a bigger heart, and you can play harder, then that's what's going to happen at the end of the day. So I think like ULM, like I said, well-coached team. And like I said, coming off a tough loss against Texas State. So, they want to try to, stay in the winning column. And at the end of the day, like for Auburn, like we want to get back in the winning column. And, this is an early game. And typically early games plays to the road team. It happened last week against Vanderbilt. Like we struggle in early games. And then when we go on the road and play an early game, we actually play better on the road in early games. So I just think Auburn's got to get off the bus ready to play. And like I said, ULM, you have nothing to lose. And those are the scary games. We have nothing to lose. You can go out there and just let it all go. You can dial up every play in the playbook, because no one's expecting you to win, right? So you're playing with house money, as they say, when it comes to when you're playing poker or craps, right? So you're playing with house money. So technically you come in here, like don't come in here playing tentative, like come in here to, play not to lose, because no one's expecting you to win this game. And that's a scary thing for Auburn.
You won a lot of accolades, obviously, that helped propel you to being a first-round draft pick there in the NFL for the – are the Redskins still to you, or are they the Commanders now?
Like I played for the Redskins, and now they're the Commanders. So when people ask me that I play for Washington, I say, well, I play for the Redskins. Like the Commanders is a different era. But, of course, they're going to see my Redskins helmet back here in the back. But I said,
I'm just trying to make sure I speak correctly for you there, Jason. But you were 04 SEC Player of the Year, Sugar Bowl MVP the year that Auburn maybe should have had the national title. When you look at that and you look back kind of at your career, when you played these G5 teams, not necessarily the 3 times you faced ULM, but overall in the G5, what was like the one play that really kind of stood out in you where you were like, man, these G5 guys really can play with the rest of us?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just respect your opponent. I think the biggest thing between G5s and at that time was Power 5 and that's Power 4. I think the biggest thing at the end of the day is numbers. We have more depth than G5s do. So typically you just outlast the G5s at the end of the day because you can substitute. Your second guy that's coming in is just as good as their starter, right? So you just continue to wear down those type of guys. And that's why you see G5 play really good for halves against a lot of Power 4 teams. But then all of a sudden that depth becomes an issue when you get later into those ball games. And I just feel like when we played teams like that, to me, it was, respect your opponent because, one, you can gain a lot from those games because you can't go into those type of games and just say, oh, we're going to go out here and just kind of mess around and get a victory because you create bad habits. And the next thing you know, you're in a dogfight sometimes. But then the other part of it is, too, you don't create any momentum. So I enjoy playing teams like ULM. I enjoy playing teams. We play La Tech sometimes because the SEC schedule is such a gauntlet. And that when you get a chance to play against a team that's a G5, yeah, they may not be the Tennessee, Georgia, Bama, but it's also not, a team that you're going to go out there and beat 72-0. It's going to be a team that's going to put up a fight and they're going to compete. And especially nowadays, like I said, shoot, a lot of the transfers are guys that was on these Power 5, Power 4 teams. So you better come ready to scrap it up now because guess what? Unfortunately for G5s, these guys are auditioning to get to the Power 4s. So if a G5 kid come out here like Pavia did last year and set it off, then all of a sudden, oh, here comes the big Power 4 teams calling. Hey, you interested in coming to this school and coming to that school. And you know why? Because the G5 can't afford to keep that kid there. And that kid didn't know if he's going to play on Sundays or not. So that kid going to jump at the bigger money and the bigger opportunity to play at these Power 4s. So now Power 4s have really got to pay attention when they play these G5 teams because these guys are auditioning to either take a spot on that Power 4 team or to get recognized. And unfortunately for G5, you got to recruit even harder because you have to replace a lot of guys every year.
I felt like it was a shot fired there, Jason, when you talked about the 0-3 game that you were part of. You beat ULM 73-7. So
I did. Oh, I did. I don't even remember the score for real, honestly, because like I said, you asked me a question earlier. I didn't even remember I threw 2 picks against them and everything. Like I say, I always remember the games we should have won, right? The games that, man, you lose on 4th and 15 to Georgia. You kick the kicker and kick the center and back of the head against Florida in the swamp to win the game there. You think about, you drop a ball against USC going in the end zone in 2002 in Los Angeles to win the game. You think about all those games that you could have won that would, kind of propelled us into BCS at that time. And then, people always say, hey, man, do you remember y'all beat such and such? And I have guys that tell me that, well, I'd have been on a ULM team or been on say, man, y'all beat us so bad back then, man. And I'd be like, bro, honestly, I don't even remember. I said, truth be told, I said, like, you play so many games. At the end of the day, I said, even the big games that you win, yeah, they're cool, but you always just think about the ones we should have, we could have got, and what it would have been a difference in putting us in a championship type game and everything. But all respect, like I said, ULM is fortunate to have the coach that they have. Like I said, they have a really good running back. He's actually from the same state that I'm from. I'm from Mississippi. And, I know down there we love football. And that kid's going to, run his butt off. And like I said, this is a game that's a big game for a lot of reasons for ULM. I think for ULM, their biggest thing is come out healthy, though, right? Same thing for Auburn, but for the most part, I'm not sure where they're in their conference play right now on their side of the bracket. But still, at the end of the day, I think they're still fighting to get in a bowl game and in a decent bowl.
Yeah, I mean, obviously 6 gets you eligible, but doesn't guarantee you a slot. The way that the Sun Belt's kind of lining up, I think you'll have to have 7, and it's a tough stretch here with Auburn, Arkansas State, and then Louisiana Lafayette for the big rivalry game, who's just clicking on all cylinders right now, truthfully.
So technically, they have to win 2 out of the next 3 to make a bowl game.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that there's a good story for ULM that they could be one of the front runners for a bowl game at 6 wins, but I feel like 7's where you got to be to make sure that you really kind of lock that position up.
Yeah.
But Jason, for ULM fans that'll be traveling to the Plains this weekend, tell us about Auburn. Tell us what are some places they need to check out prior to or even after the game.
Man, they got to go by the Graduate Hotel, check it out. It's a super nice hotel with a nice rooftop. The Laura Hotel is another nice hotel. It has a nice rooftop as well, where you can eat on top and look at the whole campus. I think if you like lemonade, Toomer's Lemonade, there's a spot right by, where they roll the trees at the Victories, right there at Toomer's Corner. You can try that out. If you like Hamilton's, there's a good pizza place as well, right there downtown. You got ice cream spots. Everything is the best thing about Auburn. Everything is right by campus. And, you know what I'm saying? So no matter where you park at, if you just go right downtown Auburn, you got eating spots, you got dessert spots, it's a lot of things you can do. You can walk the campus, which is really nice. But, if you're a ULM fan, you coming in, I'd just say, man, enjoy all of it. Get there early enough. I know the game is early, so you might want to get there on Friday so you have an opportunity to see a lot of these things. Unless after the game, you can still go to Toomer's Corner, which will be packed at that time. But still, it's a great, great college atmosphere. It's a great college town. If you're family oriented, man, your kids will love it. I just think it's a special, special place.
Wrapping it up there, Jason, tell us about where all we can hear more about Auburn Tigers and everything else that you're doing.
Yeah, like I said, you can follow me at Twitter, jcam_17, and then on Instagram, jcampbell17. My podcast host, Taylor Davis, who also graduated Auburn, who covers ESPN for college football. On BleavInAuburn Auburn, you can hear us every week as we recap games and then talk about the upcoming game. But then we also break down the whole state of college football. So catch us on the Believe in Everything podcast and give us the support.
Sounds great, Jason. Hoping to catch up again soon and relive when ULM gets to win number 6 over a bowl game and we get to drink beers and celebrate.
Well, I hope it's not this weekend, because if ULM beat us this weekend, man, y'all just made my job 10 times harder when it comes to recruiting.
Este episodio es presentado por Opill, la primera píldora anticonceptiva diaria de venta libre disponible en los Estados Unidos, aprobada por la FDA de potencia completa y libre de estrógeno. Además, no necesitas receta médica. Los días en los que necesitabas prescripción médica para la píldora anticonceptiva han terminado. Opill está disponible en línea y en la mayoría de las tiendas. Toma el control de tu salud reproductiva con Opill. Usa el código BIRTHCONTROL y recibe 25% de descuento en tu primer mes de Opill en opill.com.